What's going on, everybody? Welcome in Fantasy Alarm live stream. I'm Howard Bender. With me, of course, Craig Mish. Lots going on in the wonderful world of baseball. You know what, Mish? I'll tell you this right now, and we'll just get a little head start on everything because there are going to be a lot of players that we need to discuss. Last 3 days in DFS, oh baby. Oh baby. I'm loving it, man. I am absolutely loving it. This is working out real well for me. How about you?
Everything is going great, man. I think we gave some good advice the other day. And I think what's really happening is, and I don't know what's going to happen the whole season, but we're starting to get some clarity here. I don't know about the middle teams, I don't know about the top teams, but man, these teams, there are some bad teams in baseball this year, and it's becoming easier and easier to pile on. The Indians, just a 4-game sweep against Detroit. The Angels are rolling against the Rangers. So I'm starting to get some clarity here a little bit. This race to the top and race to the bottom is becoming apparent. There are some teams that are chasing that championship. There are some teams that have no interest in doing it.
All right, well, let's get into that actually here. First of all, guys, we're here live on Facebook, Periscope, YouTube. You can find us whatever. Send your questions in. You've got the chat rooms all available to you. More than happy to answer any and all of your questions. Like Kevin Russell's question of should I drop Alex Colomé for Matt Albers? We'll hit that one in just a second here, right? Oh, look at that. Little bug eyes. You say keep Colomé? Where are you going? Get over here. Get over here.
I'm back. No way.
Answer Kevin's question.
Come on. Are you crazy? Matt Albers? Come on.
Yeah, I can't get behind it either. That Milwaukee bullpen's going to be crazy in flux, and I don't want to deal with it either at this point. I'm already suckered in. I'm already invested in Jacob Barnes. Just kick me in the balls, why don't you?
It's fine. Barnes will end up saving 25 games before it's all over. Watch, you'll see.
From your lips to God's ears, Craig Mish. From your lips.
You'll see. Yeah, people are so worried. Oh, my gosh, I spent my money in fab budget. Oh, no, what am I going to do? I didn't draft a closer. You did the right thing. This is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to chase the closers on the waiver wire. You may chase Barnes, you fail. You'll chase somebody else, you fail. All you need is to get one out of that $1,000. Yeah, I mean, you need a few bucks at the end of the season if a guy's get hurt, but you're playing in a 12-team league. You're worried about $150. Please, don't spend it on a hitter. You keep chasing those closers down, you'll end up winning saves. Every year I do the same thing with it. I don't ever win saves, but I don't ever finish last. Just put me in the middle somewhere.
Yeah, that's exactly what you're looking for. Just put me in the middle somewhere. All right, well, let's talk about teams that are not in the middle right now, Craig. Let's talk about some of these bottom feeders and what we're supposed to do. Listen, the Reds look like crap. The Rays look like butt. The Marlins are terrible. The Tigers are god-awful. This is an outright disaster here for a lot of teams. You know who else sucks? Texas.
Wow.
Texas seems
the worst of them all. The worst of them all. I think Texas is the worst team in the American League. I think they're going to lose the most games in the American League. So the question you have to ask yourself is this. What are those teams going to do? What is Detroit going to do? What is Texas going to do? What are the Marlins going to do? What is Tampa Bay going to do? And the answer is very simple. They're going to make a lot of trades in July, and you're going to start to see a lot more young players come up. Now, specifically to Texas' situation, let's hit on that. Now, look, I was very candid about this at the beginning of the season. I thought that their Vegas total was way too high, 76.5, for a couple of reasons. Number one, they didn't do anything in the offseason. Nothing. What did that tell you? What did that sell you, Howard? They were not interested in winning 90 games. They didn't think that was going to happen. So what they do, they said, we'll roll out what we have, and if it works out, yeah, maybe we'll make some moves. Nah, not so fast. They lost Delino DeShields Jr. They lost Rougned Odor. Now they don't have Elvis Andrus. This is a desperate team that made a desperate move in calling up who I think was their top hitting prospect in the minor leagues. Everyone's, Willie Calhoun. I've been talking about Ronald Guzman for 2 years on my show. We'll get into him in a minute. The point is, with Texas, in DFS, you are fading that team moving forward. The Tigers, you are fading that team moving forward. I've never seen a season like this where we have 6-7 teams that have no interest, and the only team that's really outperformed the expectations, Howard, are the Pirates. And guess who the Pirates are playing this weekend? They're playing the Marlins. So you're going to be able to do this. You're going to be able to pick on teams throughout the season. And I think that it's very apparent that there are probably 5 teams right now that on any given night that I'm willing to pick the opposing pitcher. Texas is one. Detroit is another. You mentioned the Reds. I think we're moving toward that again. This is a team going nowhere again. And they do have some offense now. You got to be a little careful. They have Votto and Schebler and Duvall and Winker and some guy at Suarez when he's healthy. They have guys that can hit. But yeah, I'm starting to really pick in and pile in against those teams. Tampa Bay is another one too. And I would bet that at the end of April, you're going to see teams 15, 20 games under 500. I've never seen anything like it before.
Well, listen, from a DFS standpoint, that's great because we know that we can pick on some of these offenses and you can get away with maybe some cheap pitchers who are going up against these struggling teams. What my bread and butter has been so far already is paying down for pitching right now and not having to rely on those top flight guys. But for season-long leagues here, we've got to try and find different ways that we can pick off of these teams and see if we can find some fantasy value. Let's take Texas, for example. You have been talking about Guzman for a really long time, actually, here. Is Guzman a guy who you can go after right now on your waiver wire, pick him up, and say, yeah, I'm going to get some production out of this guy? Or are you just spinning your wheels here? You know, my article in today's New York Post, that I submitted to the New York Post today, which comes out tomorrow, talks about making a lot of these waiver moves and guys who continuously overturn their roster this early in the season. Is Guzman a smart pickup for me here, or is this just going to fall to the wayside like so many other Texas hitters right now?
Right. Well, here's the question that you have to ask yourself, Howard, is that do you want to be the guy on the waiver wire or sitting there in your league that saw Cody Bellinger got called up last year and said, I'll wait, see what he ends up doing? Do you want to be that guy who saw Aaron Judge in the major leagues in 2016, started the season in 2017 and said, you know what? He hasn't done anything. He's not even really highly touted prospect. I'll wait on Aaron Judge. Or do you want to be that guy that just starts throwing darts at all these players? You don't cut anybody significant on your team. You hold the guy for a few weeks. If he performs, you keep him, and you get a gold mine of a player. And if not, you let him go. And Guzman's a good example of that. Franchi Cordero is a good example of that. I can't tell you for sure what these players are going to be, but we've seen players that come up to the big leagues that are outperforming their numbers in the minors. So I can't sit here and tell you, just wait to see what Ronald Guzman does. What happens if he hits a home run tonight? It's too late. Can't get him. Franchi Cordero hit a home run in his first game. Everyone's at their computer. Boop, add. You can't get him. So in terms of fab budget, that's a different story. We'll get into that on Sunday. But the way that I see Guzman, Howard, is as follows. He's a left-handed hitter. He's a very big kid. He's 6'6". He'll play first base, I think, every single day moving forward, unless the wheels fall off. But the Rangers can now afford to let those wheels fall off because, simply put, they have no one else to play at second base, at shortstop, in the outfield. What I would see the kind of numbers from him based on what he did in the minor leagues, and I threw out the comp last night, is that very early on in his career, James Loney was a great defender and somebody that we thought would end up hitting 30 home runs. He was always in L.A. around those, 19 home run, 18 home run mark. He drove in, by the way, if you look at his numbers, 90 runs. He batted 300. I think that's the kind of batter initially that Guzman will be in the early Loney years, not the late ones where he couldn't hit a home run. He was, batting 210 and hit 2 home runs. But if you remember, when he came up, he was a very highly touted prospect. So 90 runs driven in on this team, that's going to be really hard to do. But I could see 18 to 20 home runs. Definitely in an on-base percentage league. That's been his MO in the minor leagues. He gets on base a lot. And defense, which isn't going to help you at all. But that will keep him in the lineup with Texas. If they're willing to move Joey Gallo, who hit all those home runs, to the outfield, which they are, it stands to reason he's going to get a lot of playing time between now and the end of the season. And by the way, Texas, I think Howard at some point is going to move Adrian Beltre too. So, the playing time is going to be there.
All right, well, let me ask you from just a standpoint of being able to pick up a guy. A lot of people are in first-come, first-serve waivers. For some reason, the Lisanne Does Fantasy League has a first-come, first-serve waiver option here. So I just picked up Ronald Guzman. As we're talking, the question is how much rope do you give a guy before you cut him? Like, do I cut Jason Kipnis for him, who sucks balls, and I've already got Scott Kingery? Do I go that route? Do I cut maybe a Yoshihisa Hirano, because I already have Archie Bradley, and Brad Boxberger seems to be living it up over there? Like, how much rope do I give a guy, a hitter, before I say, you know what, let me take this shot on Guzman, who's unproven, who is going to get this opportunity, and cut bait on another dude?
Right, and the perspective that some people will say, like in a 10-team league, you can wait and see on Guzman. For me, it's the opposite, because you have so many players in a 10-team league that when you cut, they're not going to get picked up anyway, that you could do it right now and just roll the dice with that. Now, in a 12-team league, it's a little bit different, and I understand where you're coming from. Even in a 15-team league, you have to be a little bit selective of the player that you're cutting. The comps that I were given in terms of drop. Should I drop Vogelbach? That's a good example of a player. I'm not really sure what Vogelbach is going to be. Healy will come back. Will Vogelbach play? That's a 50-50 for me on that. But what I would tell that person is, if you don't cut Vogelbach to pick up Guzman, do not expect tomorrow to be able to make the same move, because somebody else in your league is going to have Hirano, who you can cut, and pick him up. Absolutely, that's definitely the way to go. So
I almost ripped my sweatshirt flexing.
Now,
sorry about that.
I like Toronto. I own him in my NL and Tout Wars, but Howard, in a mixed league, no reason to really own Hirano at this point. And if by the way, if something was to happen to Boxberger, we're looking at this point, because of how Boxberger has pitched. I was not in on him at all, let's be clear, but because of how well he's pitched, if he blows a save, he's fine. If he blows the next save after that, we start to get a little worried, and then the third save, he's out, just like everybody else in the league. And where are we at? We're about a week away from that. You think you'll be able to pick up Ronald Guzman in a week? If this kid hits 2 home runs this weekend and bats .320, you got no shot. It's worth the move.
No, it's definitely worth. Listen, I grabbed Franchi Cordero as soon as I found out that he got called up, just to see what happens. And what does he do? He goes yard his first game.
Right. The mistake I made so far this season, I spent 50 in one league and 60 on another league on Tyler Austin. Hasn't worked out. Hasn't looked great. But what if Tyler Austin hit 6 home runs? Well, I wouldn't have been able to get him. Now I'm in a position where I may have thrown the money away, and so be it. But, these are the kind of plays that you have to make, and I guarantee you eventually, if you play these kind of moves, you're going to end up hitting on someone. Cordero may hit 120. He may hit 300. We don't know. Right. But at this stage of the season in April, you have to take your chances, especially on teams like San Diego and teams like Texas, where they're just looking for anyone with a pulse that can hit, and if they do, they stay in the lineup. Well worth the risk, in my opinion.
All right, well, my buddy Edward, he wants to know, would you drop Matt Davidson for Guzman?
No, you would not drop Matt Davidson. You'd find somebody else on your team, and if you don't, you log in tomorrow, and somebody else got him.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's the way it's going to go. But no, you're not cutting Matt Davidson. Davidson, you got him for a reason on your team, because you needed some extra pop. He's going to give you that extra pop. And Guzman hasn't played a major league game yet. And Davidson, by the way, qualifies at third, which is harder to find a third baseman than it is to find a first baseman. So no would be the answer to that. But I love those kind of questions, because I think it's fair. You probably own, in a 12-team league, somebody like Howard, you just mentioned, a Hirano. Maybe a 7th or 8th inning guy on some team that you can part ways with, or maybe a back-end starter. Say to yourself, if I cut this starter, let me take a look, for example, at my team. Okay, I log in. I have a starting pitcher that's going to make one start next week. He's my 5th starter. He's got a bad matchup. He's at Colorado. He's at the Yankees, at the Red Sox. If I cut him, is anyone going to pick this guy up? Probably not. Let me go ahead and get Guzman, see what he does. If by Sunday he's 0 for 9 with 8 strikeouts, okay, I'll go grab that other pitcher again, and I'll probably still get him. You got to manage it that way.
Yeah, definitely. I looked through the team. I did exactly what you said. I looked through the team, find out who the guys are. I actually do own Matt Davidson in this league as well. And it came down to, do I cut bait on Jason Kipnis, or do I just get rid of Hirano? I've got AJ Minter there. I've got Albers there. I've got Archie Bradley. You're getting
it. You don't really need need Hirano. And in your league, a Vogelbach question is a good one.
Right, yeah.
How much you wouldn't cut Eric Hosmer at first base. You probably wouldn't cut Brandon Belt. Those are established first basemen.
I hate Brandon Belt.
All right.
What is with this guy?
Right, but you see, that's the kind of category that we're talking about here. If you're in that same sort of position where that kind of player, 18, 20 home runs, everyone does that, 80, 90 RBIs, everybody does that. Let's say you do it and Guzman just pops off. All of a sudden, he becomes a 30 home run hitter. We're seeing it in the major leagues. I mean, Francisco Lindor never hit 30 home runs in the major leagues. He changed his swing. He's a 30 home run guy all of a sudden. So,
right.
They get to the big league level, Howard. Remember, the development is fine in the minor leagues. You get to the big leagues, you're with big league hitters. You're with big league coaches. You're with big league managers. They see something right there on film. It's a lot different than being at Round Rock.
All right, let's talk about some of the other bottom feeders then. I'm kind of enjoying this, and let's see where we can pick off any remote fantasy value here. First of all, I'm sorry I didn't get to. I missed the show so far on with you and Bowden. How many Gregory?
Today was Cliff. Today was Cliff.
Oh, is Cliff? No Jim?
No, Jim doesn't do Fridays. He refused. He has to do 5 days with you and 4 with me. That's the rules.
Oh, okay. Well, then you lucked out because then you didn't have to hear all about Gregory Polanco today.
No, but we talked about Gregory Polanco. I think he's going to have a great year, but he's not stealing bases, and so if he's not, he's great, but he's still not a first-round pick in fantasy. I'm sorry.
No,
you're looking for multi-category guys.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what people drafted Polanco for. You're going to be very happy with the outcome this year. He's probably going to hit a career high in home runs, 25, 30, driving a career high in runs, maybe 100. And he, instead of being an 8th-round pick in fantasy next year, will be a 3rd-round pick. Congratulations. But let's not call this guy the MVP of fantasy here. He's not Mookie Betts. He's not Trout. He's not George Springer. And again, it's a long year, man, with Pittsburgh. That's another team. They're off to a great start. They'll probably beat the Marlins 3 times this weekend. But you're telling me in July that Corey Dickerson on a 1-year deal, they're not going to say goodbye? Or Trevor Williams, who's 3-0 with a 1 ERA, they're not going to trade him and try to get prospects back? Pittsburgh's not winning the World Series this year. So let's see. Let's let this play out a little bit more.
All right, let's fish off of some bottom feeders, see if there is any kind of talent there. Let's start with Detroit, arguably the worst team around.
Right.
Like, you could say Texas might be the worst team in the American League.
You could say Detroit and be fine. Yeah, you could.
I mean, listen, I like Michael Fulmer from just a talent standpoint. You could take a shot on a Miguel Cabrera that he is going to rebound a little bit. Nick Castellanos, if you can tuck him in at third base. But look at the rest of this team. I mean, this is Dixon Machado, Yeimer Candelario, Jose Iglesias. This outfield of Jacoby Jones and Leonis Martin. I mean, I'm willing to bet that the Toms River, New Jersey Little League team could take down the Detroit Tigers right now.
It's bad. Yeah, there's no doubt. Miguel Cabrera, I had Miguel Cabrera last year. I've known him for a long time. He's been in here in South Florida. People asked me what you thought. I just was not optimistic, and it wasn't even really because him. Right. There's just something to be said. Joey Votto is a different kind of player in Cincinnati. He gets on base, walks all the time. He's always going to give you the numbers. But Miguel Cabrera, his numbers have always been tied to driving in runs. I mean, that's been who he is. Guys are in front of him. Ian Kinsler, Upton, whoever. I mean, through the years, Detroit's been incredible in terms of offense. And even when he was with the Marlins, way back when he had guys in front of him, he's got no one to drive in. I mean, Leonis Martin leading off. Candelario's done nothing. I know he had a couple hits the other day. That's why I wasn't really in on Miguel Cabrera. But for the first time ever, I'm going to give you a name on the Tigers that needs to be on everybody's radar that hasn't been mentioned on any radio show on Sirius XM.
Oh.
So for this live stream, this will be the first name to keep an eye on that will be a starter on the Tigers. I think either their number 1 or number 2 guy at the end of this year or 2019 moving forward. His name is Sandy Baez, Baez. He's very lowly ranked in terms of the Tigers' prospects. You wouldn't expect this kind of name, but from what I'm told, this is a big name to keep an eye on, both in reality and fantasy. He'll be part of the Tigers' rotation in 2019. And if he gets called up, remember last year, Howard, nobody knew who Dinelson Lamet was, and he was striking out a bunch of guys with an ERA of 4.5, 5. That's going to happen in the big leagues. No one saw Nick Pivetta going from a 7 ERA last year to a 3 this year. It's certainly possible. Sandy Baez is somebody that everybody in their fantasy leagues right now needs to keep in that little watch queue, because if he gets called up and he plays on Detroit, is he going to win a lot? No. Is his ERA going to be great? No. But he's going to strike out a lot of guys. It's a name to keep an eye on Detroit moving forward.
Yeah, I'll tell you. You know what? Sandy Baez has a 13-2 K to walk ratio right now in 9 innings at Double-A Erie. And for those of you out there who sit there and say, well, then he's got to get called up to Triple-A. No. You want these pitchers who skip Triple-A.
Of course.
Pitchers who sit there and excel in Double-A can make that jump right to the majors. What you're dealing with a lot in Triple-A, you're dealing with a lot of hitters and pitchers who just don't make that cut in the big leagues, and there could be career minor leaguers. You want to call them quad A guys? It's filled with quad A guys. So to see a pitcher make that jump, I like it a lot more than a hitter who tries to make that jump. So I like it. I'm going to write it down here. Yeah, look at that. Gave up 3 earned runs in 5 innings with 3 strikeouts in his last outing against Bowie, but on April 6th, 10 Ks in 4 innings of shutout.
Keep an eye out. I'm not saying he's going to come up now. Let's be honest. The Tigers, no way are they starting anybody's clock early right now. They know that they're going to be a 100-loss team. But Howard, June, July, maybe even September, late season in a head-to-head league where you're looking for a pitcher, maybe some of your Astros get shut down because they've won so many games, or your Red Sox are done. They're not starting their sale. They're going to give them a week off. These are the kind of names you need to keep an eye on. That's the first time anybody's ever mentioned this kid's name on any radio show. Trust me. So this is a name for all of you for either at the end of 18 or 2019. By the time the Tigers get their stuff going again, Baez will be part of this rotation, along with the other kid who they got from Houston. Their number 1 overall prospect. I think his name's Perez. His name's escaping me right now, but he's their number 1 guy. Baez is rising very quickly.
Yeah, Franklin Perez.
Thank you.
Who's actually currently sitting on the DL right now, and he's not back until June.
So anyway.
So you can wait on him.
Giving you a name there for the first time is something to keep an eye on. Just like Guzman 2 years ago. Med Rosario I gave almost 2 years ago also. Yeah. These kids that come up, Howard, from the Dominican Republic and from international baseball, they're not in the draft. So we don't get firsthand knowledge of them. We don't know a lot about them. We just see that they get a signing bonus of $500,000 or $1 million, and then they're 16 years old. They take a long time to come up. And then, they're some of the best players in baseball. I mean, Ronald Acuna, did we even mention his name last year on any show? No, none, 0. All of a sudden, he's in the futures game. All of a sudden, he's the best prospect in baseball. It happens fast.
Yeah, love it. All right, let's hit some of these questions here. Scott Crump wants to know, is it time to sell high on Didi? He's got Correa, he's got Didi, but they do start 2 guys at every position here. Would you sell high on Gregorius? Or do you look at him and say, here's a kid who figured out how to hit in Yankee Stadium to take advantage of the dimensions of the park? Why would you move him?
Yeah, and he's a very valuable piece. I mean, think about the Elvis Andrus owner right now, Howard. If you're dangling out there, Didi Gregorius, that's the first attack for me. Like, I'm finding another team with a significant injury, maybe the guy who has Odor or the guy that has Didi, or I'm sorry, the guy that has Andrews, and I'm saying, hey, look, I got Correa, I got Didi. I have a wealth of value at that position when in the back of your mind, I ain't moving him unless I get something good. I don't know that I'd be so quick. I mean, Didi hit 25 or 27 home runs last season. I could see him doing the same exact thing this year. And if Greg Bird doesn't come back, which obviously is a possibility, Didi from the left side splits up those 2 right-handed hitters between Judge and Giancarlo Stanton. So sell high? I think we know who he is at this point. You're not selling high. It would just be trading from a position of wealth to help yourself somewhere where you're hurting.
Right on. All right, let's move through some more questions here. Over on YouTube, our guy Anthony Amorosa wants to know about a 3rd outfielder for tonight. I haven't really gone through the full slate just yet here, but okay. He's looking between Jackie Bradley Jr. going up against Chris Tillman, or
oh, I love that. Okay, Keep going.
Yeah, well, everybody loves going up against Chris Tillman, right? Or he's looking at Brett Gardner. I mean, let's talk about Brett Gardner here, batting leadoff for the Yankees.
Yeah.
I mean, this is going to be runs scored galore here. Who do you like better in this one?
Listen, Fiers, Fiers looked good his last time out. He also, it was hurt, so he had a little bit longer to get ready for the season. And I got to say, even though Fiers is home run prone, those are the kind of batters that'll get at him. I don't know if it'll be Gardner. Now, I could see Judge or Stanton going deep in this game. The weather's going to be cold in Detroit. I'm going to give a no there. And I'm going to say to ride Jackie Bradley Jr. tonight against Chris Tillman. Howard, you never want to say this about an individual and a player, but no one's been worse than Chris Tillman starting this year. Nobody. I mean, it's just true. It's sad. He 3 years ago was a player that was on fantasy teams helping. He looked like he could be a good Orioles pitcher, which is hard to believe because we haven't seen any of them since Mike Mussina. But injuries derailed his.
Mussina, Jimmy Key. How about that group?
Since then, it's been no one. No one. Eric Bedard.
Oh God.
Tillman. I don't want. I mean, you hate to say a career is over, but I mean, he just doesn't look like he's back from that injury. No one wanted him in the offseason, and he went back to Baltimore on a small 1-year deal. They're going to get rocked tonight.
Yeah. I mean, I hate the fact that Bradley hit so low in the order in comparison to Gardner, but I'm definitely going with Jackie Bradley Jr. as well here. Looking at a couple of stacks today. Pirates righties and all Boston bats. That's coming from at Triple H 2413. So, yeah, I mean,
I'm going to the game tonight. Dylan Peters, yeah, I could see that against Chad Kuhl. Here's the thing with Dylan Peters. The Marlins have, like some other teams, have had a day off. Okay. Even though their bullpen has pitched more innings than anybody in baseball, that's always important to note. I think that's a big misconception about season-long and even DFS. Like, Howard, if Peters in the first inning walks 2 guys and gives up 2 runs, and in the second inning gives up another 2 runs, they're going to pull him. And then all of a sudden, not to say that the Marlins bullpen is world beaters, but you're not getting that solid right-handed matchup of all the Pirates because Peters will be gone from the game. So that's just like any other pitcher that would be gone from the game early. So it's not like I think they are looking at tonight. They're desperate. They need Peters to pitch 5 innings no matter what. I don't think that is the case. So just keep that in mind. If he gets bombed, he's out of the game. And then all of a sudden you're facing a lot of right-handed pitchers. The only thing that I would say is that if the Marlins are looking for a long man reliever type, it could be a left-handed pitcher because their long man is this kid Chris O'Grady, and O'Grady did give up those 3 runs to the Mets the other day when they came back and won. So the reasoning is somewhat sound, but just keep in mind you may not be getting the starting pitcher in that game. The Marlins have had a day off. Their bullpen is more or less rested.
Yeah, listen, I went through the exact same thing last night when I was having a discussion about people wanting to stack Kansas City bats going up against Nick Tropiano. Now, I know Tropiano is coming back from Tommy John surgery, and you always kind of wonder about a guy's control and command right out of the gate. But I turned around and said, let's say Nick Tropiano gives up a couple of runs, exactly what you just said. If Nick Tropiano gives up a few runs, then they're going to go to the bullpen, and the bullpen from middle relief straight through to the back end. Angels bullpen, one of the best in the business right now. They've been killing it. And the ERA is super low, high strikeout rates, not a lot of hard contact at all. And so I went with I went with Tropiano in a GPP tournament there, saying, well, if he just goes the 5 innings and he keeps it to a minimum and he helps strike these a couple of these Royals out, then I'm okay.
Right.
But I think that there's definite upside there. But I did not go for any KC bats, and that actually turned out to be the play of all plays yesterday as far as DFS goes. So.
Yeah, and you look at it, and it's somewhat of a betting thing to say, but in baseball, especially with these bad teams, what I say is you got to let the trend be your friend in these cases. Like, would you stack hitters against the Indians pitching right now. Like, they're pitching incredible. Every single guy who's pitching for that team has given up an earned run or less. Bauer gave up a couple runs yesterday because they were already up 6 or 7-0 in the second inning. So he's just pitching to contact. I mean, let's just get out of this game and be done with it. So, don't go against what's working. You're going against the Angels last night? What kind of sense does that make? This team's winning 1 million games in a row. Ohtani or not, it has nothing to do with it. The Angels playing great baseball. So, feed off those teams who are playing poorly. Take your shots against teams that are, middle of the road. But don't go against a trend that's hitting over and over and over again. Cleveland won the first game of the series, second game, third game of the series. You're going to go against Cleveland with Detroit yesterday? It's stupid. Right. Same thing with the Angels. They've won how many games in a row? 4 or 5 games. Oh, let me go against the Angels. Why? Why would you do that?
Well, because Trout and Upton, they're just locked in. So they're due for a bad game, right? I love that.
Keep playing. Right. Who's winning? Got to do
More questions. Here we go. Mauricio Vargas wants to know, he's a 5x5 12-team Roto League. Are Nate Jones and AJ Minter worth stashing? Only real saves coming from Kimbrel because he's got Jacob Barnes and Keone Keela.
Well, it depends on who you're cutting there, I mean, it's not easy to – I'm not cutting Keela because he's the closer in Texas. Barnes, you just picked up. I probably would still want to hold on to him. Stashing Minter is definitely a good idea. It looks like he could eventually take over for Vizcaino. He's looked great. Vizcaino has not, but yes is the answer. But for what? At what cost? What are you cutting? It's not easy to answer. If you give me a player or two offensively on a bench somewhere, then I think that we could discuss it. I don't mind having 6 or 7 closers or closers in waiting in formats like this, but I didn't hear a cuttable name on his roster. Did you?
No, not yet. Mauricio, give us a cuttable name on your roster. In the meantime, let's go to Ken Haley, who says he's got Myers, Gurriel, and a frosty Carlos Santana in a 12-team head-to-head league with only 4 bench positions. Already one heavy at first base. Can't see Guzman fitting in there anywhere. Thoughts? If you can't see Guzman fitting in anywhere, then no.
No, he's got Santana. He's got Myers that qualifies at first. And in the outfield, he's got Yulieski Gurriel. I think Gurriel and Guzman's a pretty good comp, by the way. I think, Guzman lefty and Gurriel's a righty, but I could see those same, kind of numbers. Gap-to-gap type hitter, 30, 40 doubles, 18 home runs. Nothing spectacular. But good enough to be on your roster as a corner infielder on a 12-team league. But he happens to have players already that fit that mold at that position. So he's not going to cut Carlos Santana or any of those other guys. So the answer for him would be no.
All right. Mauricio says already have them. Thanks. So he's already been stashing Minter and Nate Jones. So I guess he just wants to make sure.
Keep them all.
Just making sure that he doesn't drop
Nate,
anybody.
If I said to you, Howard, and I gave you a total, Minter is more intriguing to me because he's on Atlanta. They're a good team, and if he takes over, he could run with the job. I'm not a Nate Jones fan, but if I said to you and gave you a total and said Nate Jones rest of the season saves 12.5 games, what would you say right now on Nate Jones rest of the season starting right now? How many saves would you say? Would you go under or over that number?
No, I'd take the over on 12.5. Absolutely. I mean, listen, it's Joaquin Soria, Juan Manaya's in that bullpen over there. Yeah, they're interesting options, but Soria's not what he used to be, and he'll stay in that closer role. Nate Jones is a guy who they've been so into for the last several years. Injuries have been his biggest problem. He had the elbow issue, he had the forearm issue, he had the butt muscle issue. Whatever the case may be, Nate Jones hasn't been able to stay healthy. If he does stay healthy, then I could easily see him sliding into that role once Joaquin Soria kind of throws his, pitches his way out of it. So I'm into 12.5. I'll take that over.
Okay, yeah, and I'm just throwing in there interesting number. How about if I said 17.5? Would you still go over that?
That's a little higher, Right.
I mean, so we're looking at we're on the same page. We're looking at between
12 and 15 saves.
12 and 15 saves. And what is that worth to you on your roster? Not you, but Mauricio. He knows the answer to that. He's already got a number of closers there. Probably for him, he probably doesn't need Nate Jones, to be honest with you, because he has those guys. But you see, that's the kind of questions that you have to ask yourself. What are 15 saves going to do for me in the best case scenario, by the way, for Jones the rest of the season? And if you feel like that will help you, great, because Nate Jones also may be required to have a trade of Soria too by the White Sox at some point. And by the way, Nate Jones, Howard, could get moved at some point too.
Oh yeah.
I don't think they're married to him either. But I agree with you on that sentiment. I think you're right in the middle there, and I would probably put Minter a little bit above that.
All right. At Jared Leonard 77, would you cut Yohan Moncada or Trey Mancini for Guzman?
How many teams are in that league, man? That's the key question.
10-team head-to-head.
10-team head-to-head. Would you cut Yohan Moncada or would you cut Trey Mancini? I don't know. Would you, Howard? Would you cut either of those two guys for Guzman? I mean, would you give up on Moncada this early?
I can't give up on Moncada.
He is brutal. I mean,
yeah,
brutal.
batting 184. He's like got a strikeout rate somewhere in like the 35 to 40% range right now.
You can't do it.
But there's so much upside for him that things will click, I think. And the problem is that, I mean, the White Sox are in such rebuilding mode as is that what are they going to do? They're not going to send him down. They're not going to take him out. They're going to say, you know what, kid, cut your teeth here at the major league level. We already know what your skill set is. Okay, we don't need to see you against minor league pitching.
There's not going to be any major league. See, here's the other thing. Other than Buxton, because Buxton's defense is the best in baseball, other than Buxton, Howard, there is not going to be a big league hitter riding into May at a 140 clip. It's not happening. So I do disagree a little bit there. If Moncada in a month from now is hitting 160, he's going to the minors. Like, that's it. Like, he'll go down there and work it out.
And what are they going to do? They bring Tyler Saladino in there? Like, that's going to be the solution?
Listen, J.B. Shuck is out there, man.
J.B. Shuck? You left the M out of his last name.
Melky?
Oh, dude, you know what? Go F yourself right here. Saying Melky. That name, that's a name that it makes me want to puke, makes me want to vomit. That dude's a piece of garbage. That dude is hot trash if there was ever hot trash. All right, so you're saying, so
can't do it.
Let's answer the question. You can't cut Moncada or Mancini. All right.
Can't do it.
All right, good.
I want to, but I can't do it.
Okay. All right. Let me fish through, see if there are any more questions here at the moment right now. Nope. Just a lot of appreciative messages there. Thanks, guys.
I love appreciative messages. Let's roll through the appreciative messages.
All right. Well, there you go. Mauricio Vargas says, great insight. But I'm sure he's probably talking to me. Probably wasn't talking to you. No. All right. We're talking about, let's go back to some of these bottom feeding teams and find out where we can get a little fantasy deliciousness here. You want to talk Rays? You want to talk Marlins? You want to talk
Rays is just disgusting altogether. Right? I mean, even if the Rays, they just don't have anybody, man. Like, I mean, Jake Bauers maybe eventually at first base there. Like, there's just something about. Has there ever been a star from Tampa in the last, like, since Crawford? You know, like, I mean, I guess Longoria, but.
Oh, dude, listen. Yes, Longoria. I love Longoria, even though his batting average is absolute dog crap right now.
He's like a star in Tampa. Like, oh my gosh, this guy, 20 home runs, 30 steals.
Are you kidding me, dude? Come on, Elijah Dukes, Delman Young. I mean, these are killer names. You know, I blame Jason Collette, and I will always call out Jason Collette for this. The reason that we're so into all these minor league prospects for the Rays is because Jason Collette, he does great breakdowns, he does great analysis, but because he's Jason Collette, everybody then takes that and runs with it, and it blows up so much that, yeah, we do see. I mean, how many crap prospects have we seen come out of Tampa in the last 10 years? Like, in comparison
when they had Crawford and Upton hitting 20 home runs and stealing a lot of bases, like, yeah, I mean, I was in on that, but since then, you know, outside of Longoria, and I'm trying to think, like, I mean, like, Lomo had a big year last year, I guess, but I just, you know, that's a team, even with them being bad, I would only angle toward the pitchers, like you've talked about, and I've talked about Chirinos a bunch. That was Jim's guy from the spring. No doubt about it. That's an ownable player in every fantasy league. Blake Snell, if he turns it around a little bit, yeah, I would be interested there. But that in particular is not a team. Like San Diego, I think, is more of a team with Perella and Franchi Cordero. You know, those are two names. Lucchese's pitched well, so there's some players there, I think, to target. Cincinnati, I just have to say at this point, I'm not interested in a single pitcher of theirs. It's just, I don't know what they're going to have to change, Howard, but they're going to have to change something. Like, how is it that other teams are coming in and pitching well against them, but their starters and relievers can't pitch well against anyone? And this is a continuing theme here. Outside of Castillo, I don't want anyone. No, I don't want anyone on the red zone. Finnegan is coming back, and Finnegan again. Here we go. It's just going to be great.
Forget Finnegan. Listen, forget Finnegan. Forget Homer Bailey. He's a piece of crap, too.
Cody Reed?
Yeah, I mean, Sal Romano. These are not names that you need to be into. Anthony Desclafani, not a name you need to be into here.
I actually like him a little bit, but he hasn't been healthy.
You like him because he used to pitch for the Marlins. That's why. And you probably know him personally.
No, I don't know him, but look at his numbers with the Reds. They weren't bad.
Yeah, well,
but he hasn't been healthy at all. So I'm not.
Can't stay healthy. Tyler Mahle, Luis Castillo. Those are the two names everybody's digging. Man.
Are you sold on Mahle?
No, I'm not. Listen, am I sold on any of these guys? There's a difference between a pitcher in reality and a pitcher in fantasy. And Mahle is a guy who I can look at in reality and say, I'm willing to watch this kid. I'm willing to see if he grows, how he adapts to pitching in the majors, how he makes the adjustments for big league hitting. In fantasy, no, I don't want to take that shot. I mean, do I need to take it up the whip hole each and every 5 days that he makes his start? No, I definitely don't need to do that. So for fantasy, he's a guy who I'm not going to sit here and stash away because why? The Reds aren't going anywhere. They're going to end up trading a bunch of players if they have it. And there's no hope for this team in a major way. Offensively, I can get on board with an Adam Duvall and a Joey Votto. I can get on board with a Scott Schebler if this dude ever comes back from his elbow issues. I love Tucker Barnhart. Like, I love throwing away the catcher position because Barnhart's a 270 hitter, and maybe he hits me 5 home runs. I'll take that. Why? Because he's not hurting me. The pitching on the other side, the pitching on the other side, that hurts, and it hurts a lot more. So give me your thoughts on Castillo, because that's the kid who had crazy buzz coming into the season. People were overdrafting him like ridiculously, and now he's, for lack of a better phrase, Craig, he's sucked balls.
It hasn't been good, but I think he'll be fine. Still getting a lot of swings and misses with his fastball. The environment obviously is playing somewhat of a factor into this, but to have a repeatable season that Castillo had last year, a lot is going to have to go right. I think we know that, but he was so good down the stretch, July, August, September, that I'm still willing to give him a complete pass in the month of April and assume that everything will be fine. But beyond him at that rotation, I just don't have a lot of interest. And their bullpen is looking like it did last year again. So a lot of high-scoring games where they're going to need a lot of run production. The only good news is from a fantasy perspective, as you mentioned, the Reds do have a lot of solid offensive options. And so I'm still willing to buy in on those. But from a pitching perspective, I don't know that there's a team in baseball that I would want less a part of than Cincinnati in pitching.
I hear you. Chris Thompson over on YouTube. Chris, I'm not streaming from a storage unit. This is the shed, baby. This is the shed. The problem with the shed is that it's completely messy right now, and my wife doesn't come out here, so I don't feel obligated to clean it. So at some point, yes.
Hey, the FedEx. Hey, I will say that FedEx box has moved like a foot.
It did. It's over there in the corner. It's further into the corner here.
Okay. See, there you go. See, so there has been some cleaning up. I would have loved to have video of that day where you walked into the shed and went, let me move the box. Just a foot. Just a foot.
On Tuesdays, which is chore day, I come out here with a garbage bag and I get all those cans of Red Bull, those empty cans of Red Bull and bottled water, and I throw those away. And that actually caused me, because I dropped a can of Red Bull, an empty can, and had to move the FedEx box over in order to reach and grab that Red Bull can.
And that was the only reason why it moved. But
literally the only reason. Please, this couch is usually littered with like sweatshirts and clothing. I'm sorry. You know what? I'll tell you this. The shed is the place to be. Why? Because it is not attached to my house. It is fully loaded with cable, a mini fridge, and a couch. I've got my internet. I've got everything here. My wife does not bother me. She does not bother me.
That's all you need, but I think we need to do a new segment called Howard's Shed. Things we find in Howard's shed. Let's do it.
I'd be more than happy to do things that we find in Howard's shed. Let me see if I can come up with something for you for right now here. How about what would you prefer? How about here we go.
Something, and then I'll pull something out of.
How about some gardening gloves? I can give you some gardening gloves. I don't garden because I'm a New York Jew who is allergic to the earth. But sometimes when I have to get all these crazy spider webs that are going on around here, gardening gloves.
There you go. Things you would not expect to see on a fantasy live stream.
All right,
good job.
Let's hit some other stuff here right now. Anthony Amorosa, and he now wants to know, hey, Mish, what do you think the Marlins' attendance low this season is going to be? Over or under 5,000?
It's going to be under. That means it was 6,000 for the Mets. It's going to be under. It may be under tonight. They play the Pirates. Do I count as one, though? Do I count as one person?
You do not count. You cannot count yourself in this one here.
No. It's probably going to be under. They'll have a day game at some point. A day, maybe in May, a day game. Because what happens in June and July, like they do everywhere in the country, they have the camp day where all the kids come. So they have thousands of campers. There would be nobody there otherwise. But
that's a game I want to be at. Oh, yeah. All those kids running around the ballpark.
Yeah, so they'll have under 5,000 for a game. I don't think. Listen, if the White Sox have 600, then the Marlins are going to have a game like that. It is what it is, man. What do you want me to do?
Stop picking up my Marlins attendance.
What do you want me to say? I'm going to the game tonight. I'll do some interviews. Talk to the Pirates today. Try to get talk to Josh Bell and Corey Dickerson and maybe a couple of their pitchers for some shows and see what we can dig up.
Oh, maybe share some insights.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
We'll try to get it done.
We better get it done. We got a live stream on Tuesday.
Good.
You have until Tuesday, buddy.
We'll try to do that. But yeah, I mean the Pirates, I wouldn't have expected that going to the ballpark today thinking, wow, I could knock out a few good interviews, but man, the pitching has been really good. Dickerson has been a nice surprise for them. Josh Bell has been a good surprise. So I'm kind of liking what I'm seeing so far from them. And they're going to get out of the weekend with at least one win, maybe two. And that would put the Pirates in first place in the National League Central. Who would have thought
that? Nobody. Ryan Stasek from Humphreys McGee. He's like this diehard Buccos fan and literally sitting there texting me on a daily basis to tell me what the Pirates record is.
They're doing well. They deserve a lot of credit. They could have come out of the box like these other teams that traded their players and fell flat on their face, and they did not. They played very hard. We've talked about Polanco playing very well. There's no doubt. But I think we got to start looking at Trevor Williams, Howard. I mean, are we going to just keep ignoring the fact his ERA is under 2 and he's 3-0? At some point, yeah.
No, but again, the question is how much is he going to, excuse me while I get some crusties out of my eyes. Jeez.
Yeah, you could use the gloves for that,
No, man, they're covered with spider webs. Let me ask you, though, a guy like Trevor Williams, we talked about this on the last live stream. How many times have you seen a guy come out of April 4-1 with a sub-3 ERA who then all of a sudden craps on your ratios the rest of the way? Do you believe in Trevor Williams? Listen, every pitcher's going to have his ups and downs. We get that. Right. We know that. That's just the nature of the beast. But is he going to be able to limit those crap starts enough to give you prime fantasy value as a 5th or 6th starter?
Don't know the answer to that yet. Let's see who we faced so far. Detroit.
Ooh.
Cincinnati.
Powerhouse.
And then at the Cubs. That was 3 good starts there.
Really? What are the Cubs doing right now as a team?
They're not hitting
collectively?
Well, listen. Last year he was 7-9 with a 4.07 ERA. 117 strikeouts and 150 innings. He's probably, on a 12-team league, you're 5 at best, probably. But, in an NL league, I mean, can you imagine if you drafted him in an NL only? You got 3 wins and a 1 ERA already. You're ecstatic. But, my guess at the end of the year, he wins 11 games. His ERA is 3.7, his whip is 1.2, and probably 130, 140 strikeouts. Nothing wrong with that. Maybe he's a little bit better.
Better than a poke in the eye. Anthony Amoroso wants to let you know that he'll be at the Marlins-Phillies game on May 1st. He's going to reach out. He's going to reach out to you.
Thank you, Anthony. A month from now, I'll remember. But
that's why he's going to reach out.
I was going to say he knows how to get in touch with me, Anthony.
There you go.
But
Andrew
Marlins-Phillies on May 1st. Sure.
Mm-hmm. Andrew Whetstone wants to know any word on Will Myers' return. That's a tough one, man. Like, I heard that there was like a nerve issue. He was supposed to come back today, I think, and now that's not happening here. This is beating the crap out of me in your NL only league, Mish, where Will Myers was my first baseman in a league where there are no first basemen even remotely available. What have you heard? Anything? Everything? Nothing?
Yeah, I haven't heard anything. Last 2 years he's been healthy, and every other year before that he has not. So you're kind of hoping for the best this year, and I couldn't have predicted an injury, but it's not a great situation clearly for him. The Padres are playing very, very poorly right now, so they really need him back in their lineup. But I personally, Howard, don't have a lot of strong connections to the Padres, so I don't know anything other than what's been reported.
Yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Go to fantasyalarm.com. Check out all the player updates there. That's the news that you're going to end up getting for, well, everything, I guess. Let's talk about a couple of injuries that are going down here right now, Craig, because people are obviously panic-stricken and whatnot. Yeah, you can turn the volume down on that so I don't hear myself echo. Good job. Nice.
Did I do something? I didn't do anything.
I don't know. I just heard myself. I don't know where that was coming from.
Oh, sorry.
Anyway,
sorry about that.
All right. So Brandon McCarthy leaves the game with a separated shoulder, a dislocated shoulder, non-throwing shoulder. I mean, this dude, seriously, like he's got like bird bones. I think like they're hollow. And they're not filled.
Yeah, I mean, NL only 15-team league guy. That's it. The end. Nothing else. And by the way, the Braves will have two, pitchers coming up at some point this season, and he will no longer be in the rotation. The Dodgers just pawned him off on the Braves when they made that trade with Kemp.
Right.
Once upon a time, McCarthy was thought to be a great prospect and a great pitcher. Has never been able to stay healthy. When he is healthy and he does pitch, he gives you 5 2/3, 3 earned runs, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts, and that's it. And
yada 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 yada.
It's hurt a lot, and it's been unfortunate. I see a report here today that David Dahl went on the DL in the minor leagues with a sick.
What? I'm shocked.
Man, gosh, can that guy get right?
David Dahl on the DL. Can't spell Dahl without DL, baby. There it is. What about David Price? Screw David Dahl. David Dahl's a piece of crap.
I didn't take Price anywhere. You take Price anywhere this year?
I did not take Price anywhere.
You're in the billion league, so that tells you something right there.
I know. Well, there you go. I wasn't trusting it. Now, they say he's going to make his next start on Tuesday, but, numbness in the fingertips, that's the international sign for asshole. There it is. Any interest here? You think they're kind of bullshitting us with the fact that he's not going to be back in time to make this start on Tuesday, or start him on Tuesday, watch him go 3 1/3 and come out of the game?
Yeah, I didn't have a lot of interest in him going into the season. The medicals, we still don't really know what's going on. It was a cold day. That's plausible. That he couldn't feel his hand, I guess. But my guess is between now and Tuesday, he's not going to make the start. He goes on the DL. We've heard this before. Probably.
Hey, our boy Adam Lorber from the Staten Island Yankees
yes.
just put in his bid for Guzman and Pivetta.
Yeah, Pavetta's got to be owned everywhere at this point, right? Like Pavetta's, he's looked great. Looks like he struck out a lot of guys last year, and he looked good last year. So this isn't really a huge surprise that he's become a good pitcher. Ben Lively could be the next one. I mean, imagine Philadelphia. No, not Lively.
I don't know. I'm more lukewarm on Lively.
Okay,
although
it's fair. Listen, it's fair. I mean, look, both guys looked horrendous last year, and maybe it's taking Lively a little bit longer. Velasquez, I have him in a league, and I'm scared every time he pitches, but I'm going to use him tonight at Tampa. But Arrieta and Pivetta and Velasquez and Lively, am I missing a fifth guy there somewhere in Philadelphia?
Nola. Aaron
Nola. Yeah, Nola too. He's great.
I love that
Listen,
dude.
Philadelphia, if they can get themselves right, I mean, maybe they don't make the playoffs this year, but they could be there next year. They look good.
Listen, I'm in on Phillies, and it kind of pained me that I was so in on them, and then to see Gabe Kapler just screw everything up with the way he was managing. But I mean, you look at it. Yes, I do dig Carlos Santana. I do. Scott Kingery, love him. Michael Franco, definite power there. The batting average stinks, but there is power to be had there. You look at guys like
maybe the best player in baseball.
Who's he? You know what? I used Hoskins once in DFS, and the dude went 0 for 4 for me. So
and he must have hit in every other game this year.
Every other.
He is killing it. That is my single biggest regret this year.
Oh, really? Not getting any shares of Hoskins?
Yeah, because in every league I was close or, pondering it, had the chance to, and I never did. And I thought, let me go with somebody with more establishment track record. And, I mean, it may be the difference between me winning and losing a league, but I didn't get them, and I was very close in a couple leagues.
I have him in one, I think, and that's the Lisanne Does Fantasy League. I don't think I have.
Andy's off to a great start in the host league. I mean, you're in all the host leagues, I think.
I am. Is she up to a good start?
You are the official Sirius XM host league champion somewhere.
Is she in the one with the weekly moves?
Yeah, she's off to a real good start there. But I looked at her team and she lost Andrews, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, I was very happy to see that. Not happy to see somebody hurt, but when I see somebody ahead of me with an injury, it makes me, get excited about that.
Yeah, well, I'm going to have to see if I can enhance this excitement. Who do I have in my middle infield in this league? Ooh, Orlando Arcia, Robinson Cano, Scott Kingery. Oh, baby. Oh, baby.
You're going to sell a little high on Kingery there? You're not trading Cano. Cano's great.
Cano's the worst, dude, right? Because he doesn't play for the Yankees anymore?
Cano's amazing.
What's he hitting, like 480?
He's killing it.
I love him. Love Robbie Cano so much.
Hall of Famer, I think.
No doubt about it. All right. Well, let's see. Last call for questions. What's that?
Where's Anthony Amorosa? He doesn't have any more questions?
What is Anthony? Oh, here he goes. Let's see.
Kidding. No, he's already asked like 5.
Yep. He just said, send me an offer, Mish. What are you? What league? I don't know. What league are you in with Anthony Amorosa?
We have a head-to-head points league, the GM and the co-Mish league. I got a great offer today, by the way, from somebody in that league.
Oh, he's got Hoskins, and he wants you to make him an offer for Hoskins.
Maybe so. Somebody offered me today John Gray and Josh Donaldson for Max Scherzer. Should I do it?
No.
Is there anyone more valuable in a head-to-head points league than Max Scherzer? I mean, he could be the number 1 player in all of head-to-head. I mean, he is just good.
Yeah, he could be. All right, here we go. Last call for questions, guys. Get them in. Facebook, Periscope, YouTube, whatever you want to do. Adam Lorber he said he just picked up Eduardo Escobar from the Twins. Mm-hmm. Thoughts, backup. What do you give me your thoughts on Escobar here?
He's okay. Play a lot now because of the suspension to Eddie Rosario, right? So
no, it's
who did I miss? Wait, who got suspended?
Iglesias? Was it? No, Polanco. Jorge Polanco.
Oh, Polanco. I threw the wrong guy under the bus there.
Dude, you're so stupid, Craig.
Yeah, it's bad. 15, 20 home runs, something like that. I'm still bummed out about that whole mascot thing, man. Did you know that in the new ESPN commercial they had Scooter the Holy Cow? Remember him at the Staten Island Yankees? Scooter?
Yep.
And he was in that commercial. And Adam Lorber was responsible for putting Scooter the Holy Cow in that commercial, and I never got a phone call. Very disappointed.
What kind of a phone call? Like a heads up? Or did you want to put on the Scooter costume?
Don't you remember seeing Scooter the Holy Cow at Tout Wars?
Yeah. Came running into the clubhouse.
You don't know who that was?
No, was that you?
You didn't know this all that time?
No, I didn't. I don't stay up on the gossip.
I am Scooter. The whole
You are Scooter the Holy Cow. Listen, I was this close to just walking out of that bathroom with like a plate of food and in just a towel. Like they had that whole stack of Yankee towels over there.
Oh,
And I
God,
literally almost did that if it wasn't for the fact that I thought that the people who were auctioning at that moment wouldn't have gotten a little pissed off at me.
I know. They're so stiff there, man. Speaking of stiff.
Ooh, that's a towel rack. Anyway, but boom, that's going to do it for us here on the Fantasy Alarm live stream. Guys, you can catch me and Craig again Tuesday, same time, 12 p.m. Eastern. You can catch, let's see, me.
Every
today,
day, every night?
4 to 6 p.m. I'm filling in tomorrow from 5 to 8 p.m. on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio. You can catch me and Lisa Ann 7 to 10 p.m. on Sundays. And then, again, Craig every Monday through Friday, 9 to 11, SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio, Eastern Time, and me 4 to 6 p.m. Chris, you want to wrap it up with any last thoughts?
Who's Chris?
Craig, I mean. Sorry, I was looking at the names over here.
I'm like, we just hired a new producer. I mean, I'm waiting. I'm like, we have a new person. Chris?
Hey, Craig, anything else you want to share to the public here? I'll just sit here in shame.
Chris? I got nothing, man. I'm good. I hope everybody has a good weekend. And if I get any news, I'll pass it along to all of our Fantasy Alarm subscribers first.
Beautiful. Absolutely love it. Scott Crump, we were talking about Ronald Guzman from the Texas Rangers, just called up. That's going to do it for us here on the live stream. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We are out of here.